Your goals for this video are to be able to answer these questions and also to be able to identify Tecumseh, William Henry Harrison, the War Hawks, and James Madison. Okay, so before we start talking about specifics, let's look at the War of 1812 in general. So it lasts only for 2 years, from 1812 to 1814. And some people view it as the second war for American independence. Basically, Americans are standing up for their rights as a free country against the British, who still kind of view the Americans as these nobodies that they can just push around. And this war helps to decide whether America is going to be a free and independent nation or some kind of sidekick to Great Britain. The war almost ends in disaster for the United States. It's a small, young, new country fighting against one of the most powerful nations in the world. And it really easily could have ended up with the United States losing big time to the British. It doesn't, and we're going to see why in the next couple days. In the end, it turns out all right, and actually some good things happen for America. One is there's a reduced threat of Native American attacks on the western states like Ohio and Kentucky. And there's also a restored sense of national unity. Basically, different parts of America had been arguing with each other, but after the war, they all felt good that they had worked together to achieve this victory. That's a picture there of General Andrew Jackson, who emerges as one of the war's greatest heroes and goes on to be a very powerful U.S. president after the war. Okay, so let's look at the causes of the war. The main cause of the War of 1812 were Americans from the western states known as war hawks, and these guys demanded war with Great Britain. But why did these guys from the western states demand war? A couple reasons. First, the British from their base in Canada had been giving supplies to western Native American tribes who would attack U.S. settlers in these western states. So basically, Britain was helping the Native Americans fight the people in the United States who were trying to take over Native American land. Of course, the people in these western states who were taking the land from the Native Americans did not like this. Second, Britain was also blocking U.S. trade and impressing American sailors. Impressment is when the British would stop American ships and basically kidnap American sailors and force them to fight in the British Navy. Of course, America did not like this very much. But also the fact that the British were blocking U.S. trade was hurting people, especially people along the Mississippi River, because they could no longer ship all the stuff they grew down the river and out to the rest of the world. So people were losing their jobs because of what the British were doing. This, of course, also made them upset. And finally, the War Hawks also believed that war with Great Britain could allow the U.S. to claim more territory. They thought it would allow them to take parts of Canada, to move further west, and also to claim Florida in the south. And so these guys wanted to expand the western parts of the United States, and they thought war with Britain was the way to do it. Probably the most important cause, which we're going to look at a little more closely, is the conflict with the Native Americans in the West. So the leader of the Native Americans in the West at this time period was a very charismatic and intelligent leader known as Tecumseh. And around 1810, Tecumseh began uniting Native American tribes to resist the U.S. settlers who were moving into the Western territories. So basically, the Native Americans who lived in this western part of the United States viewed the Americans, the white settlers, as invaders who were coming, chopping down the forest, kicking Native Americans out of their homes, and forcing them further and further to the west. So Tecumseh decided to unite the Native Americans and fight back against the United States. And he's famous for saying, "Let us form one body, one heart, and defend to the last warrior our country, our homes, our liberty, and the graves of our fathers." So Tecumseh, who was fighting against the United States, viewed himself as fighting for freedom, which is interesting because normally the United States claims that they're fighting for freedom when they fight wars. But so anyway, the United States does not like Tecumseh and thinks that the Native Americans have no right to attack whites who are moving into Western territory. So they send a general, William Henry Harrison, to eliminate the Indian threat in the West. And he fights a battle and forces Tecumseh to fall back. In response to William Henry Harrison's invasion, the Native Americans are forced to seek help from Great Britain. And so Britain says, yeah, sure, if you keep giving the United States a hard time, we'll give you supplies, we'll give you weapons, and this can help you reach your goal. So the British start helping the Native Americans specifically to hurt the United States, which makes the United States very upset. Anyway, this is one of the main causes that leads the people in the western states to demand for war against Great Britain, because their people in Kentucky and Ohio and Tennessee are being killed by Native Americans who are shooting at them with British-made muskets. So in the end, this leads Madison to declare war. At first, he had decided to avoid war, just like past presidents had, kind of following George Washington's advice to remain neutral in foreign affairs, but it turns out that this doesn't really work out. In 1812, he felt that he had to declare war against Great Britain. First of all, many members of his own party, the Democratic Republican Party, demanded war. Second, Britain seemed to be taking advantage of America's unwillingness to fight. Basically, Britain had pushed around America more and more and more, and basically realized that America was not going to fight back against them. And so Britain felt that it could get away with arming hostile Indians and also with pushing America around at sea, blocking their trade and kidnapping their sailors. So eventually, under Madison, America had had enough of this, and they decided that they were going to fight a war, even if it was risky. So Madison asks for a declaration of war on June 1st, 1812, and Congress votes, a majority of Congress votes to support him. So America officially declares war against Great Britain. And this is pretty interesting because America is a young and still weak nation, but they have declared war on what is perhaps the most powerful nation in the world. And we're going to see in the next couple videos how this works out for America. Here are the video goals once again. Please make sure that you can answer these questions and identify those terms. Thanks for paying attention. See you tomorrow.